While SpaceX's Booster 18 exploded on November 19th, China quietly celebrated their 90th orbital launch of the year. For a moment, it looked like the gap might finally close. Then something impossible happened at Starbase. Just 28 days after disaster, Booster 19 rolled into Mega Bay 1, fully stacked, upgraded to V3, ready for testing. China launches 90 times a year with government backing and unlimited resources. SpaceX just rebuilt an advanced booster in 28 days after catastrophic failure. So here's the real question. Is China even competing in the same race anymore? Let's start with what actually happened, because the timeline tells you everything. On December 25th, China launched a Long March 8A carrying Guowang satellites into orbit, their 89th mission of the year. The next day, another Long March 3B delivered a weather satellite to geostationary orbit. Mission 90, flawless execution. China had just matched what took SpaceX until late 2023 to achieve. They operate launch sites from Hainan Island to inland Sichuan province. They've got government backing without regulatory delays, and their private sector is growing fast with companies like Landspace pushing reusability programs. On paper, this looks like a space program gaining serious momentum. Meanwhile, SpaceX sat at 165 launches for the year, but there was a problem. A big one. Booster 18 had exploded at Starbase on November 19th during what should have been routine testing. The blast scattered debris across the test site and immediately triggered industry predictions of 3 to 6 month recovery timelines. That's how long these things normally take. Investigation, redesign, new fabrication, reassembly. When a 70-meter rocket booster explodes, you don't just order a replacement off Amazon. So if you're watching from China in late November, you're seeing your program hit 90 launches while your main competitor just lost critical hardware and faces months of delays. The gap finally looks like it might close. Except, here's what happened next. 28 days after that explosion, Booster 19 stood fully stacked inside Mega Bay 1. Not partially assembled, not making progress, completely finished, integrated, and ready for testing. December 17th, exactly 4 weeks from disaster to done. To put this in perspective, the Long March 8A that flew on December 25th had been in preparation since September or earlier. That's 3 months of careful planning for a proven rocket design with no failures to recover from. SpaceX just built an entirely new booster with experimental V3 upgrades in the time it takes most aerospace companies to schedule their review meetings. This speed reveals something fundamental about how these programs actually work. When Chinese rockets experience issues, which is rare, and that's genuinely impressive, the response follows established protocols. Multiple agencies investigate. Design changes climb through approval layers. New components require extensive documentation. This approach has produced an excellent safety record with few failures. But it also means recovery takes time. Cultural factors matter here too. Chinese aerospace development values consensus, driven decision-making, and careful risk assessment. These aren't weaknesses, they're deliberate choices that work well for their mission profile. SpaceX operates under completely different assumptions. They maintain supply chains with pre-positioned components. Mega Bay 1 functions as a rapid integration facility where major assemblies come together in days. Decision authority is concentrated, so engineers can implement changes without navigating bureaucratic approval chains. Most critically, they view the B-18 explosion not as a program setback, but as expensive data. That blast revealed COPV system vulnerabilities, structural stress points, and failure modes under real conditions. B19 incorporated fixes for those problems during construction, not after months of redesign meetings. The real question isn't whether China can match 165 launches. They probably will eventually. The question is whether they can recover from failures at this pace. Because here's what the numbers actually show. China has launched 90 times this year with impressive reliability, but they're building the Guowang constellation to compete with Starlink. After that December 25th mission, they reached 136 satellites in orbit. Their stated goal is 13,000 satellites for the complete network. Even with their current excellent launch cadence at roughly 18 satellites per Long March 8A mission, we're looking at hundreds of additional launches over many years. China aims for 400 satellites by 2027, which would require about 15 more missions. That's achievable, but by then SpaceX will likely have over 10,000 Starlink satellites operational and will be launching them on Starship at dramatically lower cost per kilogram. This isn't about Chinese engineering capability. Their hardware works, their missions succeed, and they've achieved genuine milestones in lunar exploration and space station construction. The issue is they're optimizing for a paradigm that's already shifting beneath them. The old space race valued reliability and careful planning above everything else. Launch slowly, launch safely, minimize risk at all costs. China built their program around those principles and executes them brilliantly. But the new paradigm values iteration speed and recovery capability. Launch fast, fail occasionally, learn constantly, improve rapidly. That's the race SpaceX is running, and it's not clear China can compete there, given their organizational structure. What makes Booster 19 particularly significant is that it's not just a replacement, it's an advancement. This is the first V3 configuration booster, incorporating a completely redesigned COPV system. That's the same system that contributed to the B18 explosion and previous test failures. Recent images from Mega Bay 1 show a much more robust design, capable of handling higher pressures while reducing leak risks. This system needs to support dozens of flights per booster for true reusability. SpaceX didn't just fix the problem, they upgraded it while building faster than anyone thought possible. B19 will also fly with Raptor 3 engines for the first time. These aren't minor improvements over Raptor 2, they represent a substantial performance leap with higher thrust, better efficiency, and improved manufacturability. China has no equivalent engine in development, at least not publicly. Their most advanced engines, like the YF-100K, are excellent designs, but they're optimized for reliability using proven technology rather than pushing performance boundaries. Chinese engineers are absolutely capable of developing advanced propulsion. We've seen that in their hypersonic programs and lunar missions. But creating something like Raptor 3 requires thousands of test firings, accepting dozens of failures, and rapid iteration cycles. That development philosophy doesn't align easily with China's aerospace culture, which prioritizes minimizing failures over maximizing learning rate. The current timeline suggests B19 could roll out to the Massey test stand any day now for stress testing, followed by cryogenic validation. If those tests proceed smoothly, Raptor 3 installation happens in mid-January, with Flight 12 possibly launching in late January or early February. That would mean SpaceX goes from catastrophic explosion to next-generation test flight in roughly 10 weeks. During that same period, China will execute several more successful launches with their proven rockets. Both achievements are impressive, but they're measuring success on completely different scales. What this really comes down to is strategic vulnerability. China operates more rocket types, maintains more launch sites, and has more direct government support than SpaceX. They've built a genuinely impressive space program. But the B19 timeline exposes a critical weakness. When unexpected challenges emerge, their system needs time to respond. Committee approvals, bureaucratic processes, conservative risk assessment, all of these made perfect sense in the era of expendable rockets, where each launch represented massive investment that couldn't be risked carelessly. SpaceX operates in a fundamentally different era. Starship's value isn't in any single flight, but in what each flight teaches them. B-18's explosion provided data about COPV behavior under stress that couldn't be obtained any other way. They turned that failure into improvements, incorporated into B-19 within the same month. This is the compounding effect of rapid iteration. Each cycle produces better hardware faster than the previous cycle, and the gap between those who can iterate quickly versus those who can't widens exponentially over time. Could China shift to this approach? Theoretically, yes. They have talented engineers and substantial resources. But adopting rapid iteration requires organizational transformation, not just technical changes. It means accepting higher failure rates during development. It means concentrating decision authority rather than distributing it across approval layers. It means treating public failures as learning opportunities rather than embarrassments to avoid. These changes challenge fundamental aspects of how large government programs operate, especially in cultures that value consensus and risk avoidance. The 90 launches demonstrate China can maintain high operational tempo. The successful missions prove they can execute complex tasks reliably. But neither capability addresses the core challenge. Can they iterate at SpaceX's pace? Can they turn setbacks into improvements measured in weeks instead of months? The B19 timeline gives us a clear answer, and it's one that should concern China's space program leadership. So here's what the B19 story actually tells us. China launched 90 times this year with impressive reliability and government backing. SpaceX rebuilt an advanced booster in 28 days after catastrophic failure. Both are achievements, but only one reveals the future of spaceflight. Speed of iteration now matters more than scale of operations. Recovery capability beats launch count. The space race isn't about who launches most, it's about who learns fastest. And right now, that gap is widening. If you want to follow what happens when B19 rolls out for testing and how China responds to this challenge, hit that subscribe button for new space review. Drop a comment with your thoughts on whether China can ever match this development pace, and if this analysis added value to your day, the like button helps more people discover this content. Thanks for watching, and I genuinely appreciate you being part of this community as we track these incredible developments together. For more on SpaceX's road to full reusability, check out the video on your screen right now.